Previously on MDA.
With every grant and every conference and every breakthrough, her return date gets pushed back a month.
Go and see her.
I need to go to Germany to see Eva.
So you wish to take time off to sort out your marital affairs?
Yes.
And if I refuse?
I'll have to resign.
Amanda, you are a challenging adversary, a clear-thinking, plain-speaking woman.
If that's a euphemism for you've got a big mouth, I think you better stop right there.
How much time can it possibly take to organise a weekend away?
Obviously more than someone thought.
The amount of time that's gone into planning these 2 days is ridiculous.
I thought Simon had helped.
Yeah, his advice consisted of me having to spend more money. I now own enough camping gear to equip the entire coalition of the willing.
It'll be nice. Katie will love spending a whole weekend with you.
My father never spent a weekend with me and I turned out all right.
What on earth is pathography?
Archaic term, more literary than clinical, late 19th century I think it is.
I've already lost interest.
I haven't told you what it means yet.
Big vocabulary, Jamie, but have you ever won a serious game of Scrabble?
I've never had a serious game of Scrabble.
Games were devised as training strategies for life. You play them to learn how to win.
Simon,
Hello, Layla.
how is Germany?
Well,
Hey!
hello.
Amanda.
Welcome back.
Hello.
How are you?
Simon, have you any idea how much a dome tent actually cost?
Well, I hope you didn't buy one of the cheap imitations, Bill, because it's not going to last you. I'm telling you now.
4-man dome, probably 380, 390.
I'm going to have a quick shower.
I thought they had showers at Singapore.
I wasn't there long enough.
Rich from Cato and Pittman.
I'll take it.
So, who's Richard suing this week?
Dr. Paul Mode.
Didn't that come in a while ago?
He's amended it. Original plaintiff was Lachlan Callender, now joined by his wife Sandra.
So why the change?
That man always has an angle.
He likes to win.
Gita, that fax for MDA, can you send it now, please? Thanks.
Yes, my name's Bill Henderson. I ordered a tent a couple of days ago. I was wondering if I could change it, please. Yeah. Well, I need to know the price on a...
5 days away,
form.
20 million
It'll be
emails.
90% junk. You don't have to read them all. Amanda, a couple of faxes for you?
Thanks, Lance. Mode's your archetypal GP from the burbs. You know, I've been there forever.
Coughs, colds and pregnancy tests.
No, the same credit card.
Lachlan Callender's med reports.
A weekend sleeping under canvas on rocky ground. Dib, dib, dib.
Bill, can we have a word?
Well, the upward inflection usually suggests a question, as in wait for my response. As in, why do I bother?
What do you reckon happened in Germany?
I think it's none of our business.
So you're resigning. This is about your wife, isn't it?
We've spent the last few days talking it through. We both want the relationship to work. Eva can't work here. At least not to the level that she warrants.
How are you going to work in Germany, Simon?
Well, there's still a question as to what they'll make of my Australian qualifications, but I'll be able to find some sort of job.
It's your decision.
Right.
Dr. Mode went to Adelaide Uni.
Oh, yeah? Was he there the same time as you?
He graduated in 1958.
So yes or no?
Shit!
What's up?
Summons to urgent directions hearing.
From Richard?
He faxed it. Why did he fax it? Shit!
What, is there a problem?
It's scheduled for 10 minutes' time.
What? That's impossible. When did it come?
About 20 minutes ago. What's he playing at?
Winning, probably.
I hope they're running behind schedule. Richard,
Not a good one to miss.
if I'd been given proper notice.
A fax summons not proper now.
What was the court's decision?
They supported my request for an urgent MDA essay hearing.
Where?
Prince Edward.
When's it to be?
Tomorrow, 9 a.m.
What? Richard, that's impossible. We'll have to seek a stay. This time frame's going to be prejudicial to our client.
Well, Amanda, I'm afraid the boat's already left the port. You've got no choice. My client is extremely ill.
We haven't even had a chance to speak to Dr. Mode yet.
You could have made that point at the directions hearing.
Which I would have done had I been given more time.
He's dying, Amanda. Tomorrow, 9 a.m.
Shit.
So you missed the hearing.
It was incredibly short notice.
That's what urgent usually implies, Amanda.
I'm sorry.
Now you've got to get a barrister, brief him, and get to where the hell is it?
Prince Edward.
Yeah, Prince Edward by, what, breakfast tomorrow, is
Yeah.
that right? What does your client think of this?
We haven't met him yet. We've been trying to get him on the phone now.
Oh, it just gets better and better, doesn't it?
Amanda, if it makes you feel any better, it's me he's shirty with, okay?
Jamie, can you translate these for me, please?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Simon seems cheery. Germany must have gone well.
Germany went a little too well. He's leaving us.
Who's leaving?
Simon.
So how you feeling? You think you're up for this?
Have to be.
That's good.
What's going to happen, Richard?
There's going to be a hearing at the bedside. You'll be asked to give evidence like you would in court. It's called a MDA essay hearing. It means taking evidence from a witness before the actual trial.
Will there be a judge?
There's going to be a judge's associate and a barrister representing Lachlan and yourself. Now, the doctor's side will be put by his medical indemnity organisation and their barrister.
Maybe in wigs and gowns.
No wigs and gowns. It's not going to be that formal. It will be recorded on video and played back if necessary during the actual trial.
You're going to be a film star, Lockie.
Reckon I might need some makeup.
At last, we've got a barrister.
Great.
May I ask who?
Judith Massey. The early start means she still has time to get to Bendigo for the races.
The races? Are you serious? Judith Massey.
I'm told she loves a flutter.
How's our case shaping up?
Well, Calendar says that Paul Mode, his GP, should have tested him for HIV when he learnt that he had sexually acquired Hep B. Unfortunately, he didn't. And it was because he was unaware that he was HIV positive that he unwittingly infected Sandra, who was later to become his wife.
So he's suing for Nova Shock and she's suing for abbreviated life.
You're so quick.
Oh, you know, years of experience.
Did you get onto Mode?
No, he's doing house calls, but I'm assured he'll call me back.
Terrific.
They look comfortable.
Somehow I think they fall a trifle short of a pillow-top Posturepedic.
Cheers.
Cheers. So everything must have gone well in Germany.
Yeah. Well, she tried it here, and now it's my turn to be the foreigner.
Is that your idea or is it hers?
You're a little digger, aren't you?
Oh, I can be truly forensic.
I might even give up medicine altogether. One thing about this job is it's given me a taste for different things.
Like what? Like law?
It's not like I ever really had a burning ambition to heal the wounded anyway.
You don't think I'm going to believe that?
No, I'm good. I know that. But happiness and excellence don't necessarily always equate, do they? Anyway, I've made my decision, and even if I can't get a decent surgical job, then what the hell? My German's good, I've got a brain, and I can do whatever I want, really. Can't I?
Yeah.
The
critical issue is one of timing.
Who did what to whom and when?
Yeah, plaintiff claims Dr. Mode failed to warn her husband, and by implication her, and failed to test for HIV at the appropriate time.
And what does Doctor claim?
We actually haven't managed to catch up with him.
What?
Well, there hasn't been time. The witness is terminal. We've only had the case 24 hours. We haven't managed to catch up with Mode.
And did you make that point at the directions hearing?
No.
Look, it's not the ideal, but under the circumstances, we do have to go with it. The witness is in very bad shape, evidently.
So's your case. Reckon you're going to fall at the first hurdle.
Mr. Callender, is it true Dr. Paul Mode was your general practitioner for the period of June 1991 to around May of 1994?
Yes.
And during that time, did Dr. Mode diagnose that you had hepatitis B?
Objection.
Noted.
Did Dr. Mode diagnose that you had an illness?
Yes.
What was that illness?
Hep B.
And can you remember when Dr. Mode told you you had hepatitis B?
December 93.
Did Dr. Mode suggest any further tests at that time?
No.
When did you first realise you were HIV positive?
October 94.
By which time you were already having unprotected sex with your wife?
Objection.
Noted.
When did you begin having unprotected sex with your wife?
July 94. I had no idea. Now Sandra's infected. My God. If I had known.
Was Massey eloquent in her defence of her client and sharp an attack on the witness for the prosecution?
Unfortunately, our learned friend failed to lay a glove because the witness relapsed into semi-consciousness after his counsel's examination.
Which is now on the record.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Good morning. Can I help you?
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm Dr. Mode. I haven't any idea who I should talk to. I'm guessing a lawyer.
Dr. Mode?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Amanda Mackay. How do you do? Just follow me. Did Richard Savage send you anything? Fax you anything?
Yeah, it was a writ. He said that you were going to represent me. I just don't understand any of this.
Come in. Take a seat.
Who's the senior lawyer around here?
I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
My name is Murray Tench. I wish to speak to the senior lawyer. Can I make myself any clearer? Tench. So what's this potassium? What rate? Who told you to slow it down? Hang on. Mr. Simon Lloyd.
Mr. Tench.
Heard you were here. Who's your top lawyer?
That would be William Henderson.
Oh. Leave it as it was until I tell you to do otherwise.
Bill, have you got a minute?
We can't talk long. I'm due back in coroner's court.
Mr. Tench, why don't you follow me?
Did the deceased have a name?
Kevin Healy.
So I assume Mr. Healy was terminally ill.
Terminal? He was rooted. He had Pancoast tumour. Lung cancer.
So why are they even having an inquest? I assume the death wasn't unexpected.
Kevin's fruitcake brother in Mount Isa complained to the police, said he believed there was more time left.
And what, there wasn't more time?
It's his way of dealing with why he didn't get there in time, and the man had aggressive, invasive cancer.
So what's the problem?
The pathologist is suggesting that my patient was asphyxiated.
Was he?
Not by me. The pathologist's a moron. The man had Pancoasts, ergo he had Horner's.
Horner's syndrome, it affects the eyes. It's caused by a interruption to the oculosympathetic nerve.
And what's this got to do with Mr. Healy being asphyxiated?
There was retinal hemorrhaging. That's her sole argument for asphyxiation.
The man's eyes wouldn't have been normal. Hemorrhage could have been caused by any number of things.
But not necessarily asphyxiation. It's the way the coroner seized on it, that's what worried me. But pure luck I was there. The bloody thing was running late. Well, I've got better things to do than sit round all day watching some idiot pathologist. Now they tell me I won't be on until tomorrow. Courts have no idea how they inconvenience people. Coroner takes a toilet break, I lose half an hour. My patients suffer.
What do you want me to do?
Advise me. Well, I don't know. Do I need legal representation?
You tell me. I mean, you say you've done nothing, that's fine. I believe you, and the court will probably believe you too.
If I am represented, will that make me look guilty?
As a lawyer, I would hope not.
Well, can you help me?
Before we do anything, we really would need to see the coroner's brief. It's got the witness statements.
Tench. No! No, I've told you not to let that man touch him. Hang on. With you in a minute. Yes? I've made my instructions perfectly clear.
Do you really think this retinal hemorrhage thing can be explained away?
I think we can make a case.
If we can't, sooner or later someone's going to start talking about murder.
Dr. Mode, you do remember Mr. Callender?
Well, I've only had very few hepatitis B cases. None of this is true. I never even knew he got married. I didn't even know that he was seeing anyone. Well, he was divorced. How can I be sued by somebody I don't even know existed?
When was the last time you saw him? Do you remember?
Not for years. 93, 94 maybe. He stopped coming. I thought he'd moved.
Mr. Callender says you never suggested he be tested for HIV.
Of course I suggested it.
You saying he refused?
Well, you can't force anybody to be tested.
You thought he was a high-risk candidate for HIV?
Not then. No. Those days we still believed that AIDS was a homosexual disease. Well, Callender wasn't gay. He wasn't even a drug user.
So even though in your view he was not high risk, you still suggested he be tested for HIV?
Yes.
And your records will confirm it?
Of course.
If you do need representation, we'd be better off getting you a barrister.
How long's that going to take? Another day?
A couple of hours at the most.
Yes, and anyone who's available right now is not working, which means only one thing. They're not very good. No thanks. At least you know how to spell diarrhea. We're going to be late.
Look, just one thing. What's your attitude to euthanasia?
Do you mean am I pro-legalisation?
No, I mean, are you pro-doing it?
Well, I find it all so confusing. When do you do it? When do you make the decision? Who makes the decision? No, I'm not pro-euthanasia.
I'll go down and apply for an adjournment. I doubt very much whether we'll get one, but you've got to understand an inquest is one thing. There we can help you. If there's a finding of foul play, it's a whole different ballgame.
If Callender was a compliant patient, you could tell him to take the test, and if he was HIV positive, he had to tell his sexual partner, and he could reasonably assume he would follow that advice.
But he wasn't a compliant patient.
According to the records, he appears to have been. Follow-up appointments were kept. Antibiotics were taken for the full course.
Yeah, but Callender didn't take the test, and Mo didn't think he was high risk because he wasn't gay or a drug user.
Even back in the early 90s, the fact that he wasn't gay or didn't shoot up is irrelevant. He had sexually acquired Hep B. He was a clearly defined high-risk candidate.
Anyway, it's useless talking about it till we see the records.
Mr. Henderson, I understand you're representing Mr. Tench and that you have an application for an adjournment. May I ask on what grounds?
Yes, Your Worship. I understand there may be potentially serious questions for my client to respond to. Your assistant has been kind enough to furnish me with a copy of the brief. Obviously, I haven't had a chance to review it as yet.
Mr. Tench has known about this inquest for some months. He's had ample time to arrange representation. Mr. Tench will now not be called until tomorrow, is that right?
That is correct, Your Worship.
Which gives you tonight to examine the brief and identify any issues relating to your client. I refuse your application for an adjournment. The hearing will now proceed. The pathologist, Dr. Spivak.
Thank you, Dr. Spivak.
Make sure you turn that bloody phone off.
I understand you're still under oath?
Yes, Your Worship. You found various drugs present in Mr. Healy's blood.
A test revealed the presence of morphine, diazepam and vecuronium. The morphine was unsurprising, as Mr. Healy was receiving substantial quantities of morphine.
She might say it's substantial. It had virtually no
The
impact on
presence
him.
of vecuronium and diazepam, however, could not be accounted for.
Diazepam is a sedative, is it not?
Yes.
And vecuronium, what is it used for?
It's a neuromuscular blocking agent, a muscle relaxant. It provides relaxation during anaesthesia.
So if someone was injected with vecuronium, what would happen?
Their muscles would be paralysed. They'd stop breathing. Usually at this point, the
readily
anaesthetist would have them
available
fully
is this stuff?
ventilated.
Relax, I've got you covered.
And yet you said previously that in your opinion it was not this cocktail of drugs that killed Mr. Healy. He died of asphyxiation.
Correct.
Any questions, Mr. Henderson?
Yes, Your Worship. Getting back to the suggestion that Mr. Healy died from asphyxiation, were you aware that the deceased had Pancoast tumour?
Yes.
And as is often the case with Pancoast, he also suffered from a condition called Horner's syndrome.
No, I wasn't aware.
The Horner's syndrome is caused by an interruption of the oculosympathetic nerve. So his retina would most likely not have had a normal appearance, would it?
No.
And it would have been hard to tell what actually caused the retinal hemorrhage, would it not?
Yes.
Okay, now, this drug, vecuronium, it's a commonly used muscle relaxant, isn't it?
Well, commonly used in surgery, yes.
But found on pretty well every trolley in every operating theatre in every hospital in the country, is it not?
Yes.
Dr. Mode.
I trust this is what you're after.
Great, thanks very much. Do you want to follow me? Why are some of these pages damaged?
After I got the rip, I screwed them up. I was scared. I knew I had told him to take the test, but sometimes I'm a little careless. I don't write everything down.
You were scared it wasn't in the records.
I was angry. I thought, 35 years, I always tried to do my best by people. I tried to help him. I told him to take the test, but he wouldn't listen. So I picked up the notes and I screwed them up. And then I thought, what an idiot I've been. I got my wife to iron them flat.
But you did suggest he take the HIV test.
Yes. Well, I'm not so bad after all, am I?
Dr. Mode, why do you think he didn't take an HIV test?
Well, I think he generally didn't think he was at risk.
November 93, he's got a liver function test here that's suggestive of Hep B, and he's also got a urinary tract infection.
Which in males is usually associated with anal intercourse. Well, that's why I asked him if he was homosexual, and that's when he told me that he went to brothels. I thought it was a fair enough assumption that that's where he picked up the hepatitis B.
And the HIV. Now, according to your notes, you only suggest he be tested once.
No. Well, maybe I only wrote it down once.
Well, if it's not in your notes, there's no way of proving that it happened, is there?
No, thanks. Yeah, I'll be right over.
Mum said he just slipped away. He wasn't in any pain.
You two got along well, didn't you?
Lockie was fun. He was good for Mum.
Yeah.
How long do you think Mum's got?
Naomi, I'll make sure your mum gets the best help there is. Okay?
Naomi, Mum says you can come in now.
I have to double check this, but my feeling is this period of high fever here, this viral infection that Callender had in December 93, I think it was seroconversion. When a person is infected with HIV, seroconversion is the illness associated with the move from negative to positive antibody status. Now, it's often not picked up because the symptoms are similar to that of any other viral infection.
But if it's often not picked up, then how would Mode be expected to pick it up?
No, you're missing my point. December 93, the point of seroconversion. That is when we know for sure that Callender is HIV positive.
And Mode suggested he should be tested earlier than that.
Exactly. Now, if Callender was already having unprotected sex with his future wife before then, Richard hasn't got much of a case.
What do you think of Mode?
Would I send my grandmother to him, you mean? My grandmother would love him. His age worries me a bit. Has he kept up with his medicine? Does he do the college update courses? Bottom line is, it's Mode's word against Callender's. Callender's evidence says that Mode never advised him to get an HIV test. Mode's notes say that he did.
Yes, I'll just...
It all depends on who's more believable.
Amanda, Richard Savage is on the phone.
Thanks, Lales. Richard.
Lachlan Callender's dead.
Right.
So that is the end of his nervous shock claim, and now we have to deal with Sandra Callender's claim.
Which we'll be contesting.
I assume a copy of Mode's records are on their way over.
Yes, Richard, I assumed it was a matter of urgency. And when do you think we'll get a copy of Sandra Callender's medical records?
Amanda, you will have it when I do. I'm sure you understand that Sandra is a little bit distracted at the moment.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's dead, isn't he? Okay. Is this good or bad?
Depends whether the evidence is allowed. I've had no opportunity to interview him. Strictly speaking, we're on the legal high ground.
I've always found high ground very wobbly.
Oh, thanks, Simon. Just what we need from someone who's about to leave us.
When we spoke to Murray Tench, he mentioned nothing about drugs. What the hell is going on here?
A very messy death, from the looks of it. Someone obviously killed him.
Did Tench do it?
Well, if Murray Tench wanted to kill someone, he would do it properly.
So Tench is exonerated because the killer was incompetent.
Yes, Tench would have done a much better job. He's a professional.
Medical Defence Australia latest.
Okay, there's diazepam in his system, vecuronium, but not in enough quantities to cause drug-induced asphyxiation. The evidence of retinal hemorrhaging is still not cleared up.
Well, what the hell is the pathologist going on about then?
She obviously thinks it's highly possible the man was smothered.
Smothered?
Someone put a pillow over his face.
The Horner syndrome, doesn't that explain the retinal hemorrhage
I don't
thing?
know, Bill. I don't know whether the pathologist is right or wrong. I am conceding that it's a possibility.
Well, if it continues down this path, it's going to be out of our hands.
Which, by the sounds of it, would suit you down to the ground.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
Do you want me to come back to court with you?
No, I don't think that will be necessary. Thank you, Simon.
Oh, your tent's arrived.
Thank you, Lana. I'll take that. Thank you.
He's not allowed to move.
We need to talk about the first witness.
What's Alice Muir? She's the ward nurse. Yes? Well, of course he's having trouble breathing. He's had half of one lung removed. Well, tell him that if he'd given up smoking 20 years ago, he wouldn't be there.
Glad to see you got your priorities right.
I have patients who depend on me.
As you, I assume, are depending on me.
We're about to resume.
Okay.
Mr. Tench.
Deirdre. Bob. You both okay?
Yes, fine, Doctor.
And you?
Been better. I'll survive.
Of course. There's nothing to worry about, is there?
Murray, we need to talk. Can't keep doing this on a wing and a prayer.
Can you tell the court who was with Mr. Healy on the day he died?
His wife Deirdre and his friend Bob Whitecross. They were always there.
And Mr. Tench came in several times. He always did on a Friday. That was his day for us.
Mr. Tench is the visiting thoracic surgeon.
Yes.
And was Mr. Tench with Mr. Healy around the time he died?
I think he visited about an hour before Bob Whitecross reported that he died.
Is there something that you haven't told me?
Nothing relevant.
Just so the court has a clearer picture, Ms. Muir, can you tell us a little bit about the hospital? Maryfield is a small regional hospital, isn't it?
Yes, 20 beds.
Emergency procedures, palliative care.
We also have a lot of geriatrics.
It has an operating theatre?
A small one. Just used for emergencies. Small-scale elective procedures. I just want to say Mr. Healy was in so much pain.
Thank you, Ms. Muir.
Did Mr. Tench ever use the operating theatre?
No. Mr. Tench's patients were always sent to Melbourne. Our surgical staff and facilities aren't up to his standard. He probably didn't think the general nursing staff was up to standard either. I didn't mean it's just regional hospitals have a more relaxed attitude.
And Mr. Tench was not tolerant of this more relaxed attitude?
The staff admire Mr. Tench's skill and dedication to his patients.
Curious paradigm infects the real estate trade.
Really?
If you're buying, the market's always booming, but as soon as you want to sell, everything's in a terrible downward spin.
Your apartment?
I just showed a real estate agent through. It was all sad faces and shaking heads.
Do you have to sell?
No, I don't have to do anything.
But you want to.
I am exploring my options.
Does Eva have her own place in Germany?
No, she rents. Everybody rents.
My dad always says, if you've got real estate, you should hold on to it.
Thanks. Thanks for clearing that up.
Then again, you know, you shouldn't take any notice of me. I've had it, lost it, regretted it.
Yeah, well, I reckon that makes you an expert anyway.
You mean on real estate?
What did you mean?
I mean, on had it, lost it, regretted it.
So how did you meet Lockie?
I put an ad in the paper. It was the first time that either of us had ever done anything like that. It's hard meeting people when you have a child. Naomi wasn't even 2. He told me straight off that he'd had Hep B. He even told me that he got it from a prostitute.
That didn't put you off?
I was impressed by his honesty. He was like me. He'd been through a bad divorce, and when he said that he'd gone a little crazy after the bust up, it was something that I understood. That's the period that he was going to the brothels after his wife left him.
What about sex?
We didn't sleep together for months. I was scared of getting hurt. I had Naomi to think about, and I didn't want another failed relationship. And Lockie was the same. Then it all happened. We went away one weekend, and that was it. We slept together, and we've been together from then on.
You weren't worried about catching Hep B?
We used a condom, and after that I went and got myself vaccinated. It wasn't until May sometime before we had unprotected sex.
May 94?
Yeah.
They're going to ask you if you could have caught HIV before you met Lockie.
Do you mean if I gave it to him? My ex-husband, as much as I loathe him, is fighting fit. He was the last man that I slept with before Lockie. And I've only ever slept with 4 men. And Lockie was the 4th.
copies of Sandra Callender's medical files.
Given Mode's records, they're not relevant, are they?
Well, for someone diagnosed in '94, I think she's doing well. In fact, I think she's remarkable.
Are you trying to break my heart, Richard?
It'd be nice to know you had one, Amanda.
My heart's on holidays between 9 and 5, just like yours. You know Callender's evidence is inadmissible.
Well, strictly speaking, you and I both know the judge is going to allow it.
And I beg to differ.
Amanda, it is unfortunate that you did not get the opportunity to cross-examine.
Can you just move on from there, Richard? The point is, Paul Mode advised Callender to have the HIV test, a fact which would have emerged in cross-examination. There's no case to answer.
We're talking about time here. It's not a matter of I win, you lose. You win, I lose. Sandra's lost already. She's lost her husband. Her daughter's about to lose her mother. Now, if we can settle this now, at least she's going to have a few good months.
What I don't understand is why Tench was still treating Healy. I mean, it wasn't as if he was a candidate for further surgery, was it?
No, but life's different in regional centres. The patient was dying and wants to be close to family and friends. They don't want to be stuck in the city where they have no support network. It makes perfect sense. Murray would have continued treating Healy because there would have been nobody else there who understood the etiology of the disease.
So, okay, the drug, what was it?
Vecuronium.
Yeah. Is it possible that he would have taken it from a theatre trolley?
Bill, if Murray wanted to kill someone, for a start, he would have come up with something that toxicology can't pick up.
Well, if Murray Tench didn't kill him, who did?
Sympathetic nurse, perhaps, or a member of the family, or a local doctor. Doctors do kill patients all the time.
Have you ever killed anyone?
You don't approve of euthanasia?
What I think, or don't think, doesn't mean a thing.
You think it's perfectly tolerable to allow somebody who's going to die anyway to suffer in excruciating pain?
Palliative care has improved immeasurably, Simon.
Yes, but it is the doctor, and it's the patient, and it's the family who have to deal with the reality of the situation. Bill, yes, palliative care has improved immeasurably, but there's always going to be a small percentage of patients that no amount of pain relief can possibly help. So tell me, what do you propose doing with them, Bill?
It is highly likely someone put a bloody pillow over this bloke's face and smothered him to death. Are you going to tell me you approve of that? I thought perhaps we could go over Kevin Healy's history in the limited time that you've deigned to afford us.
58-year-old truck driver, chronic smoker, regular but not heavy drinker, sudden onset of heavy coughing, lung carcinoma diagnosed. Been there for years, just hidden away at the top of the lung. I took out what I could, but you only had to take one look at his film to see it was cactus. Tumour infiltrated the nerves in the neck.
So pressure on the superior vena
Face was bloated. The man looked like a banana. He was so yellow. Lower body had virtually wasted away. Then he got Klumpke's palsy. Tumour started eating into the T1 and C8 nerve roots.
The man was in hell.
The local GP was in charge of pain management. Totally inadequate. The man couldn't manage a bank account. I did what I could when I was there, but it wasn't a terrific solution. I was only there one day a week. He was a good patient, didn't complain. Initially, he was remarkable. Managed to tolerate what I considered to be a huge degree of pain, but gradually it became unmanageable. He was taking grams and grams of morph. Poor bugger asked me to kill him. I declined. Asked me over and over. I have to say, that level of pain, that sort of request's not uncommon. We should make tracks.
He asked Tench to kill him.
He would have asked anybody who walked through the door to kill him, and so would you under those circumstances, Bill. Then again, maybe not. I'm sorry, I forgot palliative care has improved immeasurably.
Tench is up first, if you're interested.
You don't need me?
Of course, you've got other plans.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I do.
He finds it difficult to ask for help.
That was asking.
Mm-hmm.
On the Friday in question, were you ever alone with Kevin Healy?
No. In the morning there was a nurse with him, in the afternoon Bob and Deirdre with her.
And have you any explanation for the presence of diazepam and vecuronium in Kevin Healy's bloodstream?
No.
Did you ever prescribe either of the two drugs to the deceased?
No.
Just a moment, if you don't mind, Mr. Henderson. Something I'd like to clear up. Dr. Spivak, the pathologist, said that she believed that evidence of retinal hemorrhaging suggested that Mr. Healy was asphyxiated. And Mr. Henderson put it to her that this condition that Mr. Healy was suffering from...
Horner's syndrome.
Yes. He suggested that this might have caused some degree of retinal bleeding, damage of some sort. Do you have a view on this?
I'm not qualified to offer an opinion. You'd have to ask an eye specialist.
I didn't ask if you were an eye specialist. I asked if you had a view.
I suppose it's possible.
Your Worship, if I may continue. Mr. Tench, have you ever used Maryfield Hospital's operating theatre?
Of course I didn't. It's perfectly useless.
But you've been there. You know where it is.
Yes, I know where it is. It's at the end of the corridor. This is not a very large building we're talking about here.
I have one last question for the witness. Can you tell the court what are your views on euthanasia?
With due respect, Your Worship, this is an inquest into the death of Kevin Healy. I put it to you, you are turning it into a forum on euthanasia.
Given Mr. Healy's physical condition, I find it hard to see how he could have either self-administered the drugs or asphyxiated himself. If it wasn't him, someone else did it, which means we're talking euthanasia or willful murder. Call it what you will.
Mr. Tench, however, is the only witness you have asked to express his views.
I'll have to remedy the situation with future witnesses then. So, Mr. Tench, can you tell the court what are your views on euthanasia?
I find the concept horrifying.
Thank you.
Ask how long Healy had to live.
Your Worship, Mr. Tench, in your view, how much longer was Kevin Healy expected to live?
24 hours, 48 at the most.
I've been through these records that you gave me, and it looks like they've been tampered with. In particular, the line where Mode states he advised Callender to have an HIV test. I'm going to need access to the originals so my document man can have a closer look before I reach a firm conclusion.
Layla, it's Amanda. Can you get into Mode for me? Tell him we need to see him immediately. I don't care what he's doing. Thanks. Dr. Mode, did you in any way alter Lachlan Callender's medical records? Richard Savage wants his document man to examine the original medical records. Now, this man is good. I've used him before. If there is any discrepancy, if there is any alteration, he'll find it.
I told him to take the test. I told him several times, except I didn't write it down. Young men like that, they think they're invincible. That's probably why he didn't take the test. Well, if you don't know you've got it, you haven't got it. Ignorance is exoneration. Except it's not, is it? Not when you give it to someone else. Poor bastard. Knowing what he'd done to her, watching her all those years. I don't blame him for lying. I blame myself for being careless. What happens now?
We'll have to settle. We haven't got a choice. The minute that you add to the records, the minute that you say that you falsified records...
No one will believe me, will they?
No.
You went through those records with a fine-tooth comb, didn't you?
What do you mean?
You went through Calendar's records and you worked out exactly when the point of seroconversion took place. The date of the record that you added to, you were spot on. You couldn't have positioned it better.
Well, I told him to take the test.
But do you remember exactly when you actually told him?
So, is Savage going to come to the party?
He's given every indication.
Even though he has serious doubts about the veracity of Mode's records and as a witness swearing neglect on his deathbed.
Sandra Calendar's sick. Instant money gives her and her daughter a bit of quality time together that they won't have if she goes to court.
What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting initial offer maybe 300,000.
That is ridiculous.
It's got to be attractive, otherwise Richard won't bite.
Yeah, and it is obviously in your interest to settle. Takes the pain out of not cross-examining. 300 is out of the question. 150 maybe.
He's just not going to accept that.
How do you know? You said yourself that the woman has a child, she's sick and she's dying.
Cash in hand or time in court, I know what I'd choose. I've got the mediation centre on the phone. They can fit you in at 5 o'clock today.
Great.
Look, I might be able to say this a little more easily.
I'm handling it.
As I can see. Layla, call Nancy, tell her I'll be later. Tell her I'll be in mediation, caught up, and I don't know what time I'll finish. And confirm the booking with the mediation centre, please.
I smell coffee?
Your olfactory senses have not deserted you, Jamison, but alas, you are required elsewhere.
Pardon?
You're part of this mess. Come on, let's go.
Mr. Callender was a compliant patient. You just have to look at Mode's own records to see that he followed medical instructions. He always completed any drug courses. This was a responsible human being. Now, the first day he met Sandra, he told her he had Hep B. I don't know, but how much more responsible can you be than that? If Lockie had known he was HIV positive, he would have told Sandra.
If, the big if, that's the problem, isn't it? What is the nexus between a compliant patient and a socially responsible human being? Frankly, as far as I can see, none. The guy was out shagging prostitutes, for Christ's sake.
You want proof that this was a socially responsible human being? Bill, there it is. Day one, the first day he meets Sandra, he tells her he has Hep B. He told her exactly where he got it from. Now, if Mode was halfway competent, we wouldn't be sitting here today. That's a fact.
But he was competent. That's not in debate.
Jamie, wait a second. What planet are you on?
Can we stick to the point,
The point
please?
is, your client failed in his duty of care to Lachlan Callender, and this in turn has had a tragic and disastrous impact on Sandra Callender and her daughter. Now, Sandra, at best, has what? A year or two left in her life. And that in a constant state of ill health.
What are you seeking, Richard?
Well, what value do you put on a life, or what value do you put on 3 lives?
That is what I'm asking you.
600,000.
So do we order in dinner now?
The ball's in your court.
Yeah, not if you're going to waste our time with an ambit claim like that.
600.
Bill?
Out of the question.
Medical Defence Australia, Layla speaking. Hi, Nancy. No, I'm sorry he's not back from mediation yet. Okay. Yeah, I got that. 7 at the latest. Okay, I'll leave a note. Bye.
I'm sorry, but your offer of 150,000 is an absolute disgrace.
No, it reflects prevailing standards.
No. It's an offence to a good man. It's an insult to his widow. It was clear to Dr. Mode at the time that his patient was sexually active. He was carrying a sexually transmitted disease. Now, as a result of this negligence, Mrs. Callender is infected with the HIV virus, and as a result of the illness from that infection, she now has a severely shortened life expectancy.
We make no acknowledgement for the tragedy that has befallen the Callender.
Your client was tampering with his medical records.
So you allege.
Of course he did. Furthermore, we have sworn evidence from Lachlan Callender that he failed to counsel him to have an HIV test.
Evidence that was not cross-examined.
Well, I'm sorry, but that was unfortunate, but it has no bearing on my client's compensation.
Can we try and seek some common ground here, please, gentlemen?
Right. Sandra, They've made an offer of 320,000 all in. I think I've pushed them as far as they can go. It's up to you, but I'd recommend you accept it.
Thank you, of course. Whatever you think.
Good. I'll let them know. We accept.
We'll get the paperwork to you next week.
Of course.
I thought 300,000 was out of the question.
Not your finest moment, Amanda.
Long mediation?
Lot at stake.
How come you're still here?
Just catching up on things.
Nearly finished?
Yes, just one more email to go from a Nigerian oil baron who wants me to help him dispose of $15 million.
Feel like a drink?
Yeah.
Have a good weekend, Hap.
Highly unlikely by the look of it.
See you, Bill.
Bye.
Yeah.
So did you get an estimate on your apartment?
No, I decided to take your advice.
Which bit in particular?
The, don't lose it, don't regret it bit.
Ah, yes. Very wise.
I figure I can always put it on the market later, once we get a feel for how things are going in Germany.
You mean once you found a job you like, once Eva's more settled into her work, once you've gotten used to feeling like the odd man out?
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
In other words, you're going to make Eva responsible for your happiness. Sorry, was that too blunt?
You blunt? Never.